Good evening, Benjamin. Can
I'm afraid...
a gun?
What do you want? Leave me alone.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I'm looking for Nurse Dorothy Crane.
There is no Dorothy Crane here. Now goodbye.
I'm afraid this medical leaflet says the opposite, sir.
Really? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to close this door right now. Go bother someone else, Mr. Doctor.
To enter that house, I must discover who this man really is. Maybe I could start by observing what he's up to. I must insist, sir. Please let me see no...
I have no time.
It's locked. No one's there. Nobody at home.
Good evening, my dear colleague.
Goodbye, Miss...
Can't you just look the other way this week, Joe? Welcome, sir. Please, take a browse of my wares.
I am Dr. Reed. I would like to ask you a few questions, if you don't mind.
Doctor? Interesting. I'm Barrett Lewis. Usually I don't have time to waste with talk, but at this hour of the night I can hardly refuse.
How is business around here?
Business? I have no business. Between this racket, theft, and customers getting scared, I'm losing money every day.
I see. Sounds like you blame someone in particular for your situation.
It's no secret Joe Peterson spends his time harassing merchants. But with me, he's trying to put me out of business once and for all.
As a merchant, you see Whitechapel every day. Have you noticed anything out of the ordinary recently?
What you mean besides the epidemic, the war, and all the usual crap? As long as I can remember, this part of town has been a bottomless pit, and no sign of the bottom yet.
Violence is in...
Yeah. A few nights ago, some blokes jumped me. Came
Where did this happen?
in the closed workshops nearby. I worked there as an apprentice.
Have you been hurt?
No, but that's only because I ran like hell. Those...
Have you heard of a nurse called...
Nurse Crane. So the bitch really...
So she's trying to help her fellow immigrants. Why would that make her a villain?
Dorothy Crane ain't even a real name. Something like Dorothea Craniu. Something like that. Came to England from...
That doesn't explain why she irritates you so much.
Your precious Nurse Crane gives away medical supplies and prescriptions for free. I offered to sell it for a fair cut, but no. Miss Crane wanted to play the quiet saint.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Lewis. Excuse me, sir. I have a few questions for you.
Another journalist? I didn't answer the first one, so piss off!
I'm not a journalist, I'm a doctor.
A doctor, you say? It's quite a rare breed in this part of town.
Really? But still, here I am. Dr. Jonathan Reed, at your service.
I'm Joe Peterson to some, but Colossus Joe to most. And I don't remember asking for your service, sir.
May I ask what you do around here?
I do whatever I want, and sometimes even more. Now sod off.
According to you, physicians are scarce in this part of town. Why is that?
Not familiar with this neighborhood, are you? I guess your fancy colleagues are too afraid of being stabbed in the back.
This part of town does have quite a reputation.
Totally. Look at me, for instance. I always look my opponent in the eye before knocking him out.
How did you become the local bully everyone is afraid of, Joe?
There's no pride in roughing up poor bastards. But this is the only job I've found. And it pays well, too.
A job? So you're racketeering for someone else?
I got enlisted by the Wet Boot Boys, a gang from the docks. I'm their muscle for their dirty work.
You survive at any cost, even at the expense of others. Perhaps that's just the law of nature.
I don't care what you think, sir.
I'm not sure Mr. Lewis would agree with your...
Oh, do you really think he's the poor victim here?
Have you heard of a nurse named Dorothy Crane? She's a colleague of mine, and is supposed to live around here.
Dorothy Crane? Yeah, I know her.
Could you please tell me more about her?
She's a nice girl. Tries to help the migrants. I offered to give her a hand, but she said my reputation would attract too much attention.
Goodbye, Mr. Peterson. Hello, young man. I'm Dr. Reed, and I would like to ask you a few questions. May I enter, please?
Sorry, no, sir. My father does not like people entering our house, you see.
Your father is worried about you, boy. He asked me to look for you.
So my father actually worries about me then? Okay then. Come on in. I'm Harry, by the way. Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
So, may I ask you a few questions?
I'm not bothered. What could be worse?
How do you feel?
I'm fine. I mean, it's not easy every day, but I'm fine. I'm just tired of being sick all the time. If only I could be tough, like... Well, you know.
Speaking of which, what can you tell me about your father?
My father is an idiot who makes idiot things. That's all I have to say.
Forgive my bluntness, young man, but you don't seem happy living in Whitechapel.
Why should I? I never wanted to come here in the first place. It was my father's decision. And look around you.
I'm sure your father did his best when he found
That's exactly what my father says. Harry, you should be grateful for what you've got.
If life here is so terrible for you, why don't you just leave this place? Have you ever spoken to your father about it?
I don't go outside. It terrifies me so. I went outside once without my father noticing and I saw...
So that's why you stay at home all day? For fear of the...
I'm not afraid of disease or death, Doc.
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the...
Yes, I know her. She came in...
Your father and Mr. Lewis used to be good friends. What happened, Harry?
I was young then. I don't remember Mr. Lewis ever coming back again after my mother died. Or was it after my father started bullying him? I don't know.
Have you tried speaking to Mr. Lewis about it?
I don't go out often, but yes. And he scolded me and told me to leave him alone. I guess my father frightens him too much.
But you are not responsible for your father's actions.
Am I not? Dad always says that he joined that gang for my safety. So if I wasn't born, people wouldn't be worried.
Goodbye, young man. Take care of yourself.
Even my dreams are soaked with gloom. Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
It's locked. So,
I'm not bothered.
would it ease tensions with your father if he got an honest job? Because he tried, you know.
I can't say. I'd be glad if he dropped his thuggish activities, but I'm not sure it would be enough.
Why is that?
Sometimes I suspect it's me, Dr. Reed. Or it's this life. It's like I can't find my place.
Do you need any medical help, young man?
Yes, I do. I feel so tired. I don't know if it's the epidemic, but everything seems so hard.
You'll feel better with this. But you need to get a grip, young man. Medication alone won't cure melancholia.
I'm not sure I'm happy with the idea of living long in a world like this. But I thank you for your concern, sir.
Goodbye, young man.
Is there only pain and suffering in this world?
You again? What do you want this time?
Harry doesn't seem happy living in Whitechapel. Why did you make him come here?
I've always put my son's interests above everything else, whatever he may think. Our house is small but affordable. The walls are thin, but the door is solid.
You really love your son, don't you, Mr. Peterson?
He's my pride and joy. Even if he hates me for the choices I make and pushes me buttons more than he should.
Since the criminal nature of your job means you could be arrested, are you not afraid of what would happen to your boy if you were?
No one will ever take my son away from me. If that ever occurred, I'd hunt the bastard down and rip off his head with my bare hands.
Do you have any regrets?
Only one. Not to have my beloved wife by my side. She died when Harry was little. My sweet Jane. She gave the boy confidence.
Why do you keep on working for the gang, Joe? You know it doesn't suit you.
It's true, I hate this job. And I know I make some...
You could leave tomorrow. Start another life in another town.
That's easy for you to say, Doctor. We are poor. My son's weak, and there's no way he'll endure another disappointment.
Goodbye, Miss.
Don't be shy, handsome. What can Christina...
I'm not looking for what you're selling.
All right then, but be quick. Though I usually...
Christina, have you been examined? The epidemic is spreading fast in London, and you could be exposed. Or expose others.
I don't like doctors or hospitals, but I don't like you asking questions.
You can put your own life in danger, that's your decision. But what about your clients? If you're contaminated, you will put them in danger too.
And you think that would worry me? If you...
Considering your line of work...
If it is going to happen, it will happen.
Tell me about yourself.
Are you joking with me? People don't use...
I have no interest in your work.
Short story. The war...
I'm sure you could have found another job. Perhaps less...
And when exactly was the last time you looked for a job?
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane from the...
I don't know her, but I know her name is Dorothea Crăciunescu. She came from Romania like me and many others.
You seem to respect her. Do you need any assistance?
It depends on...
I will see. Goodbye. Forgive my interruption.
Do not apologize, my son.
I am Dr. Jonathan Reed, and...
A scientist?
What do you mean when you say that I am more lost than you thought?
All scientists are entangled in a world of causes and consequences. And most of them can't see the plain truth.
Quite a judgmental opinion, if you ask me. But what do I know? blinded by science as I am.
But you are seeking answers, aren't you? Answers about the Armageddon about to strike the city. Answers about the hidden truth.
Well, I suppose I can spare a few minutes.
As a doctor, you must be aware of the decimating...
What do you mean?
The beast is finally revealing itself.
Really? And what would be your answer to this biblical threat?
We must fight the disease before this legion outnumbers us. But not with scalpels and microscopes. No.
What is left then?
Cleansing fire.
Tell me, Tobias, what exactly is your plan concerning the cleansing of this city?
God will recognize his own. More than one.
Purification by fire has proved you...
Your lack of faith is predictable.
You're mad and dangerous.
My son, if you think salvation is a...
Joseph,
Vicar Larrabee of St. Mary's...
Have you any friends? Any
No.
Where did you send?
I sent Samuel to the Stonebridge Cemetery.
You sent him on some preaching...
As a true believer, Samuel will...
Do you know Nurse Dorothy Crane?
I don't like the liberal ideas of nurses, but I...
So you're not exactly a fan of Florence Nightingale's work. But nurses are essential for modern healthcare.
Nuns should be the only women allowed to take care of male patients. It's obvious only they have the necessary moral fiber.
Why do you hate Nurse Crane?
Before coming to London, she was a member of...
I have heard enough for... There's nobody here.
A strange man was at the door with a pass for our medical facility. I refused him entry.
Darius, how could you know he didn't need our help?
His clothes were too finely tailored to be for Whitechapel.
Perhaps just a friend of that stray poet who is always about.
Richard Nithercott? No, not of the same cloth, this man. I suspect some machination from that journalist.
Clayton Darby. Is he still asking questions?
Yes. I saw him drifting around St. Mary's Church. I swear he is tracking me just downwind.
It's locked. I must talk to that journalist or the poet. They must know about Darius. Nearby the church they just mentioned.
Joe, please, I don't have your money.
Come on, Barrett, you know the game. You pay for peace of mind.
Can't you just look the other way this week, Joe? Come on, we can sort it out, right? It's not my fault, Barrett.
Good evening, Christy.
Change your mind.
Goodbye.
Would you like me to revive you?
The disease upon us is not an accident of nature, but the punishment of a
Excuse me,
divine
sir.
will.
Are you familiar with this part of town? Name's Clayton Darby, reporter.
Sorry, I'm new to Whitechapel. But perhaps you could help me since you're a journalist. My name is Jonathan
Dr. Reed, the famous surgeon.
Why are the newspapers keeping silent about the Spanish invasion?
There's a war going on. People
I served in France. Our top priority.
Sir, streets are a battlefield too. An invisible...
What is a journalist doing in this borough after sunset?
He goes where none of his colleagues would dare to go.
So you risk your life to reveal the truth. I saw many reporters do the same during the war.
Whitechapel is the crucible of so many untold stories and tragedies. I want people to know them.
That's quite honorable of you. But is the public interested?
Not at all, sir. And that's why I'm an independent journalist, hoping to sell some stories.
Have you any idea of the danger you face in these streets at night?
I've had to run and hide more than once from frenzied mobs incensed by the fever. Do you think the flu is really responsible for this, Doctor?
I must confess, some of my rational...
I'll remember to stay away from the dish...
Christina Popper claims she sells her body because she can't find any other work. Do you believe her?
Of course I do. Her story is exactly what I want my readers to understand. We live in an intolerant and divided nation.
Do you think things will ever change, Mr. Darby?
I believe the situation can only improve. And now that women can vote, I'm convinced things will change.
I heard you're investigating an underground medical dispensary in Whitechapel. What do you know about it?
Not much, I'm afraid. They are wary of strangers, and I'm not really an acquaintance of theirs. Why do you care?
I'm afraid one of the nurses from the Pembroke Hospital may be involved with unsavory activities.
Ah, could it be Dorothy Crane?
Without a doubt, you are a damn fine journalist, Mr. Darby. What do you know of her accomplice, a man named Darius?
I don't know much about the man. He's very cautious. Never goes out. Doesn't seem to have any friends or family.
He has no relatives at all?
No. Except for that strange man, a poet named Richard Nethercott, who sometimes comes by. Darius would never let him in.
Where can I find this Mr. Nethercott?
He spends most of his time lurking around Whitechapel, talking to himself or declaring verses. These days, you can usually find him behind the church.
He never goes out?
No. A few days ago, he unexpectedly did. I followed him, but it was just a ruse to keep me away from his house.
Really? How do you know?
He went to the nearest mailbox, but just before posting his letter, he ripped it up and threw it away.
Goodbye, Miss... Good evening.
It's far.
What do you mean?
All
Quite a...
well, you.
I am. I have heard... The content of Darius' letter to his children could give me more leverage to enter. Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed. I'd like to ask you... I know what you're thinking. A tall... I know you understand what I'm saying. Your silence has nothing to do with you being mute, does it? Very well. Goodbye. I cannot enter. It's locked, all right.
Good evening, Doctor. Can I have...
Goodbye.
Already touched, but...
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I would like to ask...
Please be my guest. Although I may not be the best informant regarding this part of town, my words speak about that which the eyes cannot...
Really? Are you a...
I'm a poet, sir.
May I ask what you're doing at this hour of night, sir?
Not at all. I'm just enjoying the pleasure of a...
But are you not afraid?
Oh, why should I? I see some equity in the Spanish flu. No flesh should be saved, say the scriptures. Good or evil, rich or poor, all are equal in the eyes of...
If you say so.
Thank you, Doctor. But we both know the seeker of...
What are your thoughts?
Terrible, you say? No. Of course.
What are you talking about?
Do you remember London before the flu? Noisy, cacophonic, quiet nowhere to be found. And now, listen to this oddly peaceful silence.
Yes. The enjoy...
Most people fail to understand my...
Are you aware that your life could be in danger in this part of town?
But this is where I must be to feel the real beat.
If some misfortune came upon...
Well, you, for a start, my dear...
I understand your...
I don't care.
Do you need medical...
It may be why...
I understand your appetite for words.
The nutrition of my mind is more...
May I ask you a few questions about the district?
Extraordinary part of town, is it not? I'll be...
I'm looking for Dorothy Crane.
Dorothy Crane. Oh, I love the name.
What can you tell me about an old man called...
Darius Petrescu. Yes, I know him. At first, I thought he was only a small publisher. I invited him to
Not interested in your talent?
Darius is an old political activist who takes delight in printing tracts and lampoons. Those communist activities only require mediocre writings.
Tell me, Mr. Nethercott.
The place is not beautiful per se, but...
In what way?
The struggle by gaslight, the barons...
If you say so.
Such vibrant
Vivid, of course.
Oh, yes?
Do you not think it...
On the contrary, sir. Why...
What can you tell me about...
Not much. And that's the...
Perhaps you're just afraid.
One day, perhaps, I'll ask her to come with me.
And have you ever tried to learn more about her?
Maybe I prefer she remains an enigma.
Did you know the mute florist is a member of a secret society?
No, I didn't. But I thank you for this information, sir.
Are you not curious?
That girl has not an ounce of malice in her.
I fear you are a hopeless Roman.
Guilty as charged.
I'll leave you. Darius is a bit less of a mystery now. It should not be that difficult to incite him to let me in. Hello again, miss. Melia, I know you work for Dorothy Crane. Please tell me about her secret dispensary. A stubborn and mute cop. Tell me about Richard Nethercott. I understand he is quite fond of you, Camellia. Very well.